But I advocate that we do.
Are we not? Do you really want borders?
You tell me.
I mean, once upon a time, there were no passports. The world was a much better place. When Lord Byron went to Greece, where he died, or Lord Elgin for that matter, he didn't need a passport. What was wrong with that? I think borders are a sign of failure of the human species.
It's very relevant right now because the UK is currently having a lot of debate about immigration.
You shouldn't be having this debate. It is a misanthropic, stupid debate, and you have a
How do you best tackle gang violence? Sweden has just implemented visitation zones and already Muslims have gotten beaten by the police. Bro. Oh my God. Any kind of violent crime is born out of fucking socioeconomic conditions. The real issue with countries like Sweden and Germany and many other places that they fucking develop enclaves and they ghettoize the population that they are trying to keep subservient and poor instead of integrating them into society. So then it's much easier to hit the fucking reactionary talking points. It's much easier to just say, you know why everything sucks? It's not capitalism. It's not because of austerity. Oh, don't say that. It's not neoliberalization of our entire economy, even though we were supposed to be this beacon of social democracy in Sweden. We were the regime. We defended it. We defended the democratic socialist principles here. And now that's all gone. Now that's going away. Neoliberalism is thriving in this country, and that's precisely the reason why you're feeling the hurt. But actually, that's not the reason why you're feeling the hurt. You know why you're feeling the hurt? Muslims. That's right. They're doing rapes. They're doing rape gangs, and they're doing kebab on a pizza. What the fuck is that about? Think about that, Swedish people. It must be them. It is a super easy way to craft narratives. Immigrants and other forms of marginalized populations can always be presented as the villains of society when they are some of the weakest. And because they're some of the weakest collectively, all of a sudden, they have no mechanism for defense. Okay? They have no defense. They have no response. You never hear from them, so you can just fucking lie about them all day, every day. You can point to singular acts of violence and say, this entire group of people is responsible. They all like this shit. They all love this shit. They didn't want to come to Sweden because they wanted a better life for themselves. They wanted to come to Sweden because they wanted to rape. They wanted to do Swedish rape. That's why they're here. Well, that's a bad example. Since pretty much everybody loves kebab pizza. I know. What? You are way too good at replicating child talking points, brother? What does that mean? Like talking points that children can understand? Is that what you're saying? Because that's my job. So thank you, if that's what you're saying. Here it is. Democrats talking about migrants under Trump. Democrats talking about migrants under Biden. You are way too good at replicating chud talking points. Why do black people commit more crimes than white people? Is it due to their surroundings? Black people commit more crimes than white people. The fuck? What are we doing? Are we doing 1350 in the chat right now? Crime across the board is born out of people's material conditions. Okay? That's it. It has been that way since ancient Greece. Okay? It's something that people have recognized for quite a long time. It has nothing to do with the skin color of a person. It has nothing to do with like how undeveloped or uncivilized they might be. There are a multitude of different reasons as to why the 1350 statistic is bullshit. One, 1350 actually simply is talking about arrest records. It's not actually talking about criminal convictions. The white supremacist criminal justice system obviously treats black people relatively unfairly. For example, things such as marijuana possession, like things that you would take for granted. Black people, although they consume drugs at the same rate as white people, if not at a lesser rate than white people, get far longer sentences for the same exact crimes. Okay? We have the crack versus cocaine distinction, for example. Crack versus cocaine sentencing disparity is one of the glaringly obvious ways in which we try to punish black people more than we try to punish white people. Okay? So that's one. Number two, it is not a cultural issue at all. Rap music or other forms of black culture are some of the most commodified aspects of American culture. American whites don't often create culture if we're being fucking real, okay? this, there are more white people that are listening to rap music than there are black people. There are more white people than there are black people in general. This doesn't mean that like they're not being impacted by rap music and rap culture in the same way that black people are. So what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that black people have like some different brain, for example, that like causes them to listen to rap music and then be more violent? No, it's fucking bullshit. It's because black people have been systematically undermined in this goddamn country. Okay? They are over prosecuted, over criminalized, constantly fucking, constantly being victimized by the criminal justice system. And of course, at the end of that, their communities are being underserved, and there is a major disparity because we never actually recognize the wrongs that we committed towards black people in this goddamn nation. Many people don't even understand it. Many people don't even want to recognize it. They don't even want to talk about systemic racism. They think it's fucking bullshit. Anyway, the real problems are that black people are consistently and historically and in contemporary society still underserved and undermined by the white supremacist criminal justice system. This is systemic racism. And people oftentimes will turn around and talk about 1350, which is an incredibly racist fucking attitude that they have that they think is a good gotcha, when in fact it's just a revelation that they personally don't really understand it and are fearful, and they're just going to be, very racist. People don't get how much of a wasteland the country is between Mississippi and the Rockies. Literally, towns that once had thousands of people living there now have less than 100. Yeah. Yeah, like Knowing Better said, the standard American history myth does not explain the state of black poverty in America, so people create conclusions. What is the 1350 talking point? A while ago, the FBI released their race profile for their arrest numbers, okay, across the board. It showed that 13% of the population, which is the black population, was responsible for 50% of the crimes, is what 4chan went along with. Except the problem is, it wasn't actually 50% of the crimes that they were committing. It was simply arrest numbers. Okay? Of course, black people are arrested on a fucking higher frequency. We know that already. Black people are over criminalized. Black people are prosecuted at a higher rate for the same level of fucking despite the fact that they are, doing the same exact quote unquote crimes that white people are doing. Anyway, what is the evidence for what you are saying? The evidence for what am I saying? That black people are over policed, black communities are underserved financially and over policed, and also arrested at a higher rate for the same level of criminal actions that white people engage with on a regular basis. Is that what you're asking? No, don't say look at reality, just Google it. I will give you a couple keywords to type in to Google. Okay. Are you ready? Black, white sentencing disparity. Yeah. People never read the end of the 1350 study, which literally concluded there was systemic racism. The same study showed black Americans are 20% more likely to face charges than a white person for the same crimes. It also showed disproportionate sentencing, up to 60% harsher for POC. This data is from the same FBI study that racists love to spout. How do you counter debate someone who brings up, though, right-wing points that you're talking about? What do you mean? I'm currently doing that right now. Look, I try to simplify this to the best of my ability. Okay? I try to simplify this to the best of my ability. There's only two ways out of this conversation. Either you believe that systemic racism exists and black people are systematically undermined, and that is the reason for why there's so much wealth disparity, or you believe that black people are either culturally, which is usually a dog whistle and a substitute for what I'm about to say, racially inferior, and that is the reason why they are, not as rich as white people. Okay? It's one or the other. Either systemic racism exists or there's some intrinsic factors that are responsible for the lack of development in the black community in comparison to the white community. I am a firm believer in understanding history and recognizing that it is definitely external factors. There is no secret third thing, by the way. That's it. It's either one or the other. If you believe that there is some kind of inferiority, then you're a racist. It's that simple. You literally, personally, falsely believe that black people are inferior to white people. That's it. You can try to masquerade it under the auspices of culture. You could be like, oh, it's just the culture. But that is pretty easy to just undermine when you ask someone, what do you mean culture? What do you mean culture? Everybody consumes black culture. Do you think white guys in the Appalachian Mountains that listen to fucking only rock and roll music aren't just as just as addicted to drugs as the black people that you're talking about? Maybe it has something to do with the material conditions. Are white people not fucking listening to rap music? Are black people only there? Is it like a different frequency? There has to be some kind of genetic inferiority in that situation, unless you think like it doesn't make any sense. If you don't believe that there is like a way that I guess like a frequency that black people are tuning into when they listen to rap music that makes them more violent, I guess, than white people, even though more white people listen to rap music than black people do. So what is it? Do you agree that other POCs like Latinos, AAPI also face systemic racism similar to the black community? Different forms of it, not the same. There are two groups of people in this country that have been systematically undermined in a way unlike any other. Indigenous populations for genocide and the black population for chattel slavery. There is just no comparison to it. Slavery in and of itself is unique when it comes to chattel slavery. Historians literally fucking signified it as a specific thing because all matter of slavery, whether it be the Ottomans that we were talking about before a while ago when people were getting mad at me and they're like, oh, white people slavery, all matter of slavery, whether it be Irish indentured servants or Chinese slavery, any matter of slavery across the board historically was very different than chattel slavery. Chattel slavery was conducted on the virtue of the color of your skin, conducted on the fact that you were considered chattel. You were not a human being. You were dehumanized. And therefore, you could do anything and everything you wanted to this person that was not a person at all. All matter of other forms of slavery historically gave you an out. Basically, it was not intergenerational in many instances. You could fucking buy your way out of it. This didn't make it just, by the way. This didn't make it good. Okay, but there is a reason for why chattel slavery was seen as something unimaginable. The cruelty of it all, the historic significance of it. Okay, it is a uniquely evil type of slavery in comparison to other forms of slavery. Can you imagine that? Huh. And it's really interesting when you think about it because initially, it wasn't even a thing. Like people weren't even thinking about it as like a race thing. Okay. It was done on the virtue of Christianity. It was done on the virtue of religion. You know what I mean? They were like, oh, these are not Christians. The church wasn't in favor of, like, you know, enslaving other Christians. And as long as these people did not fucking convert to Christianity, they could be slaves. So they had to find something different. Eventually, they had to find a different reason as to why you could enslave people. You always had to sell it. And basically, once we arrived at Reformation, and America was already, like, relatively, America was Calvinist, and then beyond that, we had our own, you know, we had the Industrial Revolution, but beyond that, we had our own unique form of scientific reasoning for racism. We arrived at phrenology. We tried to find not a Christian reason to maintain racism and maintain slavery, chattel slavery specifically. We looked for scientific reasons that we currently fucking understand were completely faulty, which is made up. Okay? Black people have a different skull, and that's why they're more servile. They want to be servile. It's bullshit. We still have these outdated, antiquated, completely false mechanisms of justifying white supremacy that exists in society to this day. It's called the bell curve, IQ. We just move on to the next thing over and over again. Except for skull phrenology, which is real. It's the most real skull science. It's the only real skull science.
Minister who should have been expelled from this country.
Now we're attacking the bell curve. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the bell curve? I'm talking about the book, dog. Okay? Okay. I think you meant cop phrenology, my man. Wait, what did I say? Yeah, cop phrenology. Nah, we all know you hate math and the normal distribution. Yes, that's what I was tackling math. Anyway, I didn't say cop phrenology. Sorry, you're right. The only phrenology that is real is cop skull. That's it. All right. Anyway, I can't believe I moved on to this level of, like, you know, we were talking about all this, like, you know, white supremacy, all these different things, when in fact I should be, you know, keeping my eye on the ball here. We're going to be talking about immigration. Let's get back to it. Here's Giannis talking about the UK and his attitudes on immigration.
Because the UK is currently having a lot of debate about immigration.
You shouldn't be having this debate. It is a misanthropic, stupid debate. And you have a minister who should have been expelled from this country for having these ideas. She even challenged the United Nations Charter on Refugees. I mean, this is.
She suggested it might have been an outdated legal mechanism to resolve that problem.
She's a dangerous, poor excuse of human nature.
But
that's
the people who are anxious,
very ashamed of her.
He's like, wow, Giannis, typical, wants an Indian woman to be deported. Wow. Wants an Indian woman to be deported, folks. You see that? You see that? Classic, okay? Classic. She's Sri Lanka? My bad.
But the people who are anxious about this issue
should have said brown woman. You are so much for the tolerant left.
Trying to look after.
Sure.
There are people who.
My job is not to pander to anxieties that are absolutely false consciousness examples. Look, Freddie, we Europeans exported hordes of people. We emigrated to the four corners of the universe, of the planet. We populated the Earth from Latin America to North America, to Asia, to Africa, millions, usually armed as well, right, as imperialists. We had no qualms about that for 1,000 years. All that has happened is that we're getting old. Demographically, we are aging. So, migratory flows have reversed. We need migrants. The more the merrier. Why do people worry about the Romanians living next door to them? It's because the flats have been privatized. They used to be council houses, and now they are being privatized, and austerity, together with largesse for the financiers through quantitative easing, has destroyed the foundation of the society, even if you didn't have a single foreigner. All this angst and rage is being diverted, as in the mid-war period, against the Jew, the Muslim, the Romanian, the Brit, the German, the foreigner. We must not tolerate that, and we must never pander to that and say, oh, the solution.
If you had all of your needs met, if you had all of your fucking needs met, if you had a house, if you had shelter, if you had all of these different things, if you had a prospect for a better future, a capacity to dream, okay, and a committed government, you would never fucking worry yourself with this shit. You'd just be like, great, I'm happy. Okay, I'm happy. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, they can have it too. That's it. And the irony is, this is all we talk about in movies and in cinema and in books. We literally will point to those people who are good people, kind people, honest people. Okay? But in the real world, for some weird reason, these fucking villainous attitudes and these villainous, the villainous mindset of just like, no, fuck those other people. Oh, we should do everything we can to just kill them. Fuck those people. It's just that has so much more staying power. Then why are the most aggro people on immigration business owners? First of all, they are not the most aggro people on. There are plenty of fucking aggro people across the board. But it's not like business owners themselves. I'm not saying you cannot have racist ass attitudes across the board. I'm not saying that rich people are not racist. You can still have racism. We're talking about trying to undermine trend lines here. Okay, we're trying to reverse the trend of having normal people fucking experience racist thoughts. Why do they get it? They get it because there's a lot of volatility. They get it because there's a lot of instability. There's a lot of anger. Okay. And there is a Republican Party that straight up channels all of that frustration and channels all that anger and directs it to marginalized communities. Now, having said that, though, when we're talking about business owners, plenty of business owners fucking hate migrants. But what do they love? What do they love? Well, in the interest of their class position and their advocacy on that regard, they love undocumented labor. They love cheap labor. Okay? They love labor exploitation. Maybe some of them are personally completely oblivious to the reality that that like their advocacy about criminalizing migration is, offering them a lot more cheap labor. Maybe they just got duped because they were angry about some other shit. They were angry about the uncertainty. Yeah, there would always still be racist people. I'm not saying that you would combat racism and you would eradicate it in its entirety. I never said that. It would just make it harder for people to become racist because in the instability, the economic instability that people face creates a perfect ground for a fascist takeover. Angry people are easy to move in a certain direction. It's also about locals not seeing foreigners as the same as them, so they don't want to overtake them in the capital's rat race. It's just under communism. It wouldn't matter. They can be as racist as they want as long as I get what I need. Fuck them. That was my realization when I wasn't so focused on my individual bills I had to pay because I got into a better financial situation due to luck. I started paying more attention to society around me and asked, why are those other people suffering so much when I have my needs met? Do they now have their material needs like rent and food met? Yeah. will this affect how you vote in November? Bitch, I don't care about fucking voting in November at all. You are so far removed from the conversation if that's what you're talking about right now. If that's the only thing you care about, you should be smiling and dialing, baby. You shouldn't be in here at all. Calling up people individually and apologizing to them for Brandon's fucking idiotic actions.
Is less likely to pay a criminal smuggler
Graham
thousands of
Waters,
dollars
thank you
to
for the
take them
5-tier
on
one
a
gift to
dangerous
subs.
journey, knowing that if in fact they move in the wrong direction, they returned around quickly. And 2 weeks ago, the Department of Justice started a new docket in the immigration courts to address cases where people who've recently crossed the border they make a decision within 6 months rather than 6 years, because that's what happens now. Additionally, the Department of Homeland Security has proposed new rules to...
Hey, liberal, my vote matters so much more than yours because I'm in Pennsylvania, bitch. Okay. Are you talking to me or the other guy? It doesn't matter where you are in the country, okay?
Allow federal law enforcement to more quickly remove asylum seekers that have criminal convictions and remove them from the United States. My administration has also recently launched new efforts to go after criminal networks that profit from smuggling migrants to our border and incentivize people to...
From the 2023 USSC demographic report, for sentences longer than 60 months, black males receive lengths of incarceration approximately 1% shorter than white males. Doesn't this say the opposite of your argument? For short sentences, the difference is around 8% towards blacks. Women get 30% shorter sentences than men, but no one complains about that. I love that, like, one book, I think, is all you need to read on this matter to recognize how fucking stupid you are, okay? I can't believe I'm about to say this, but, like, this is literally reverse Angela Davis arguments happening in here. Like, the sentencing disparity between black people and white people is not so that we literally fucking sentence white people more, dumbass. It's to show the disparity. Just like the sentencing disparity between women and men doesn't mean we should punish women more. Please tell me you are trying to debate me at the top of the hour with a 3-minute ad break. Please. Okay? But the fact that you're saying blacks implies that perhaps, you know, maybe you're not doing that, especially because you fucking cherry-picked data. You cherry-picked data. No, they're a serious 2-hour follower. Yeah, exactly. To desperately undermine that the idea of systemic racism and sentencing disparity does not exist, actually. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. You're right. White people are actually getting longer sentences than black people in this country. It's just weird that, like, when you look at the numbers within the black community, 1 out of every black child has at least one incarcerated parent. And when you look at the white community in this country, that number goes up to, like, more than, I think, for the Latino demographics. Okay, for the Latino demographics, that goes up to like 1 out of 20. And for white, I think it's like 1 out of 40. I'm fucking up the, I'm most likely fucking up the